𝐿 Masonry, an award-winning company servicing the Greater Toronto Area and the Golden Horseshoe. Here we have a larger than usual basement walkout with a patio of approximately 400 square feet. And we're looking at the finished concrete, also containing some garden beds and benching. Here you can see the blockwork, which is the foundation wall, which sits upon the footing. A&A is always concerned about water management and how above and below structures can be prone to shift in the future. And in this case, we've waterproofed it up to and even above code to hold up any possible elements that can be encountered. Up to code would include having tar on the foundation, or liquid rubber as we call it, a dimple or delta board, plastic that wraps around the foundation, and then you backfill that. In this case, we've also added the styrofoam up against the blockwork. What this does is to act as a cushion for when the ground freezes and expands and pushes into the retaining wall, thus keeping it stable and intact. A lot of people that call A&A for repairing retaining walls, especially after the winter, is because the ground pushed into the retaining wall and it wasn't built right in the first place, with all the aforementioned precautions put in place. And because it's an open area, a lot of contractors can skip on some of these parts and cause the wall to eventually fail. Done properly, a retaining wall should last forever. Here you can see the track to get in and out is going to cause some wear and tear and some destruction to the property. This client wanted to do a walkway from the driveway in the front getting to the back. In this case, A&A had to pay extra attention to concerns of the neighbor's property. This attention includes water management to ensure the neighbor's property is not affected in any way. This is a common concern in contracting. A&A gets calls where work has been done and faulty water management has occurred, and the neighbor calls to get the water difficulties on their property addressed. Problems can most certainly occur when the flow of water is changed with an unintended and unpredictable consequence. In this case, the homeowners allowed A&A to use this section to get machines in and out and have access to the back, which ends up tearing up this pathway. But when everything is finished, the job is to make sure everything is level and all aspects of water management addressed so that it does not flow back onto the neighbor's property. Here is where we have more water management concerns, where we install a French drain. A French drain is where you can see the drain on the surface in the grill. The water has to go somewhere as the patio is subgrade, so it makes its way down toward the door where we have the drain. In this case, A&A had to take care to have an additional sump pump to take all the surface water and address it so that it will not affect the interior of the house. On the surface of the stone, as we're talking about 400 square feet, A&A put a catch drain that could slightly grade the surface to channel the water and manage it in such a way as to not cause freezing and affect the stonework. On bigger jobs like this, homeowners should expect and have a contingency plan and budget for unforeseen things. The larger the jobs, the more additional unforeseen factors become revealed as the job progresses. These must be dealt with. If you ignore them, it will cause damaging factors down the road with disastrous consequences. In this case, A&A had to extend beyond what the drawings called for in the retaining wall to hold the former patio that came off the back of the house on the main ground from slipping and sliding as a result of soil disturbance due to construction. Here they did the blockwork and did it as a solid concrete wall, filling the cavities of the cinder block with cement and steel. This creates essentially a concrete wall and is then finished with stone veneer. Here again, we have unforeseen things with the brick veneer. Once A&A digs down, the drawings had no instructions of what to do with the exposed foundation, that was up against the open patio. Obviously, the homeowners did not want to look at a rough, unfinished concrete foundation. They wanted a brick veneer where A&A had to slice brick and put it on the foundation. You can also see the complexities of the work in getting the steps to be uniform from the doorway at the basement in getting up to the top surface and matching the grade. From the excavation to framing concrete to putting finished stone on is extremely precise work. If you don't get it right, it can be inconsistent and sometimes not up to code. A lot of jobs A&A sees and gets called on to go and correct is because of mistakes and miscalculations causing inconsistencies, resulting in an inferior job and a poor product. When you are looking at 10 or 11 steps and don't have much room to go, it can become easy to put yourself out of code if you're not careful and really take the time to do excellent precision work. Here is the extended retaining wall, finished with stone, that is going to support the former patio on the upper level. The garden boxes, as seen here, have all been insulated and have drains in them, so natural water that can sit there has somewhere to go. This way, none of the materials will be affected by water freezing and thus causing deterioration. A&A always works to produce the customer's expectations of what they want to see at the end of the job. It's important to always fully get that vision from the customer before starting the job. This was a combination of 3 or 4 different stones. A&A also worked to find a brick match for the existing house on the foundation. Because it was anticipated there would be more surface water than originally expected, it was important to go back to the engineers who originally designed the work and discuss the water management, and put in further measures to ensure the house is fully protected. This was done to an excellent result to keep the owner's home safe. You can see the different types of natural stones. Some are local stones, some are imported. The combination makes a beautiful finish overall with great detail and each step being very consistent. This is an example of how A&A can meet and produce the homeowner's expectations. Again, here's the final product and example of getting the grading done right from the driveway to the back. A&A put in water management systems in the walkway to grade the walkway and catch the water and drive it towards the street to not affect the neighbor's property. Conduits were installed under the walkway system to protect the walkway from water spilling and freezing in the winter and therefore stopping any deterioration. Also, taking into account the managing of water and an over 400 plus square foot basement walkout that includes 2 sets of stairs, garden boxes, extended retaining wall to hold up the upper level. If you include the interlock and getting everything graded in order to know where the water is going to avoid any damage, and again paying close attention to the neighboring property, you can see all the detail and care put into an A&A job. A&A always takes care to fully clean up the job site at the end. All loose details are taken care of. Cleanliness at the end of a job is a very high responsibility for the crews that are working on the job. This is vital so that the customer is very satisfied with everything that they see and the work site is left as clean or cleaner than it was at the start of the job. A&A has some of the top crews in the business, and these crews are specialists in their own areas of expertise. Whether it's waterproofing, underpinning, bricklaying, concrete, specialized concrete, and foundation structure, stone masonry, A&A has a number of specialist crews in each of these fields. As a result, one of the advantages A&A has is the ability to put the very best on a job where there's more than one type of specialized trade required. A job like this, A&A had 3 to 5 different specialized crews go in and do what's required. As a result, the level of competence on the job is at the very highest level possible. Here, A&A used waterproofing specialists to come in and do the additional sump pumps and address water concerns. They then went back to the engineer, who agreed, and then went back to modify the drawings to put in an additional sump pump to be extra cautious. Then A&A used a crew for the insulation around the concrete and doing the concrete underpinning. Another crew worked on the framing for the shell and the steps. For this, you have to be a master at carpentry and framing so that nothing will shift or move. And then, finally, masonry specialists come in. This is a very artisan trade, as they are also making sure the job is structurally perfect, but also looks fabulous and gives the wow factor to please the customer. The masons get together with the homeowner to make sure we understand what they're expecting to see given the materials they want to use, and putting our very best on there so that we can achieve that final vision and turn it into a reality. So if you care for your home and you have an important next project that you're looking at, if you want a top-notch job performed by the best in the business, if you want a job that is going to look gorgeous and last for years and years, call the professionals at A&A and let them get to work for you to make your dream a reality. To schedule your next project, contact A&A Masonry today.